Donald calls for the ball. The snap is back. The hold is down.
And it's good.
Gulfport
wins the title.
No time on the clock. The Golden Egg is coming to the coast.
Welcome to the HD Experience, your source for sports on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Here's your host, Hunter Dawkins.
My name is Hunter Dawkins, the host of the award-winning podcast, The HD Experience. This is the 44th episode of Mississippi Gulf Coast Sports Podcast, sponsored by the Gazebo Gazette, Harrison County's independent newspaper. The Beau Rivage Resort and Casino in Biloxi that is hosting Shrek the Musical for the last week. Nine Toes Brewing Company in Pass Christian, who has live music every weekend. O'Dwyer Realty agent Stephanie Mankiewicz, Joseph Kelly, attorney at law, Coast Casual in Pass Christian, who is having some great summer deals, the Insurance Barn in Gulfport, the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo in Jones Park, Gulfport. This 4th of July upcoming weekend, we're going to have a guest on today, and we're always in the U.S. Marine Inc. studio. I'm here with my wonderful producer of the show, Jeff Clark. Jeff is a well-accomplished, award-winning journalist, South Alabama beat writer, and he is the director of the senior services for Harrison County. How are you, my friend?
Hey Hunter, I'm well, man. Congrats, on the HD Experience getting an award last night at the Mississippi Press Association. Better newspaper thing. You work hard on it. We've been doing it almost a year. It's really, really grown. So it's nice to get for you to get some recognition on it. It's awesome
for both of us. And the
Sure.
fact is, this is great. It's great for both of us. And the fact, Jeff, we are the only podcast that received any kind of anything, at least at the awards convention. Not saying that there are not better podcasts out there or not, but I'm just saying, we were the ones to get across the finish line, at least from that. And,
the thing about a podcast is like everybody wants to start a podcast, but as you and I have learned, like starting a podcast is one thing, but committing, doing it week after week, being consistent, improving your quality, like all of that's, it's not for everyone,
And that's one thing that you expressed to me, when we first started.
Got to be consistent.
That's what I give you credit for helping me. And, once I get my head spin on something, I'm pretty much just consistent all the way through. But talking about our theme today is another song that I know you appreciate.
Sure.
Welcome to the jungle of college athletics, in which there is a congressional bill out there right now, Jeff, proceeding to limit college expansion, transfer portal, and eligibility requirements. NCAA has a set ruling this week on the eligibility requirements. They have set a ruling this week on the eligibility requirements for only 5 years. But just as it has been throughout the country, there are bound for lawsuits that pop up challenging this eligibility requirements. Give me your thoughts.
Are we really at a point where we need Congress to regulate college athletics? The NCAA has failed time and time and time again. Like they can't get it together. And the SEC, the Big Ten, they don't care anymore. They're ESPN brands, right? Like they're just under the NCAA because that's college athletics. But there's talk of the SEC and the Big Ten moving away from the NCAA and blah blah blah. But it's like I'm very leery when we have to get Congress involved with student athletics. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's what it is. Bear Bryant coined that phrase, the student athlete,
That's right. And of course, we're going to talk to some more guests obviously across the board telling us, their thoughts and their opinions. And of course, because of the limitation of her expansion, this potential bill, which will limit potentially getting rid of Power Six schools, moving up if they have an opportunity to jump up, or even in Power Four conferences transferring over from one to another. They can't do that anymore, according to this bill, and we'll see what happens, I guess, from that.
Yeah, it's it's always something, man. I miss a couple of years ago when we would be talking about recruiting right now, or 4 years ago, we'd be talking about recruiting, high school recruiting, right? Like we'd be getting ready for who's going to sign in December, and all that. Like it's still a thing, but man, our thoughts are all over the place. Our discussions are all over the place with college football now.
It's been devalued because of the transfer portal, and you
Yeah,
have that right.
absolutely. It's been devalued because of NIL, or the lack of enforcement of NIL. NIL is a great thing if it's for name, image, and likeness. There's no
Sure.
reason for these people not to make money. They work hard. They're making billions for ESPN. They're making billions for the school. I'm all for revenue sharing. I'm all for all of it. But it's just like for the first time in a long time, like I'm just kind of leery going into college football season. It
Absolutely.
seems I'm exhausted by it already.
Yeah. Well, and of all of the great things you get from NIL, with the great, kids being able to pick up money for this, every now and then you get a Brandon Sorsby where you bet, I think there was something like 8,000 games in 2 years. Yeah, that's practically going every day betting on DraftKings or FanDuel.
And it's and Pete Rose will never made the Baseball Hall of Fame, the ML, Major League Baseball Hall of Fame for betting on sports. It's just, look, man, if FanDuel and these things are going to put in, it's all a mess. Like I really just miss the days. Like I wonder what Alabama's going to do this year. How good's LSU going to be? We don't even talk about that anymore. Like it's not even a thing. It's like who's going to make the most money? Who's going to leave what school? Who's going to leave them hanging? Who's going to make what transfer? It's a whole thing. You know.
Absolutely. And like I said, we'll talk to some future guests about it. But this one we got coming on here, we're going to talk and discuss about the Jones Park Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo, one of the big events across the state of Mississippi. And I know you like to talk about that yourself, going around checking it out with the family.
Yeah, man. I've when I was at the Sun Herald, that was like what I would have to do 4th of July week was go down and take photos of the catches of the day. Like they put them out in this huge vats of ice, like these big bins of ice, and you can see all these like really large drum and redfish, and okay, somebody's gonna catch a bull shark.
Tiger
Somebody's probably
shark.
gonna catch a hammerhead.
Yeah.
It's great, and this year I know they got Amanda Shaw playing. On I think she's playing July 3rd. I think she's on the Friday night entertainment. But Amanda's great. She's been performing since she was a child. She's a prodigy. She's fantastic. So, how it's the deep sea fishing rodeo when you see the carnival set up in Jones Park.
There you
So
go. We look forward to getting with you towards the end of the show.
right on. Let's get into our guest after our first commercial break. We will be right back.
Looking for effortless style on the coast? Discover Coast Casual in the Pass, your locally owned men's and boys' boutique. Coast Casual offers a mix of coastal and southern-inspired clothing, accessories, and gifts.
The Gazebo Gazette is Harrison County's only independent newspaper, publishing news from Gulfport to Bay St. Louis every Friday. Hi, this is Hunter Dawkins, owner of the Gazebo Gazette. If you're looking for local news without the hassle of sorting through story after digital story, log on to thegazebogazette.com.
First guest is the longtime president of the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo in Gulfport, Richie Valdez. Richie, this is the 78th annual Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo at Jones Park in Gulfport. From the outsider's point of view, what makes this event family-oriented?
Well, Hunter, first of all, I'd like to say I'm glad to be on this show. I can't thank you enough for your support for the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo. we have a long time history of, having all the kids there for the kids fishing rodeo. And it's just been a family event over the years that people come to. They may move away for some time and then they come back and the first thing they say is, hey, we're going out to the deep sea fishing rodeo. Haven't been there since I was a kid. It's just a great family thing. And it's always great to see the kids' faces when they receive those prizes.
And I know this is going to be a pretty much a funny question for you because you're going to be like, well, we're doing this most of the year. How much time does this overall take to promote this event and bring in a decent revenue for you guys?
We work on this event. We start working. We hit the ground the day after the rodeo, and we have meetings once a month. Of course, me and the board of directors, we're always on the phone working with stuff, trying to get sponsors, hitting up different people for different ads and stuff on our site. So we work on it year round, and it takes year round. Most people don't realize the rodeo takes around $130,000 to put on every year.
Wow. Is there, as far as not only that, are y'all having to pay for music and things as such? Or vendors, food, things. Talk to me about that.
Yes, on the bands, bands all across the country. They've gone up on their prices a lot. We have a great lineup coming for the rodeo. We have Journey Tribute with Rodeo Nola. If you had never seen those guys, they're phenomenal. That's opening night, starts at 7. We have Amanda Shaw out of Louisiana. She'll be here on Friday night for our Country Cajun night.
Nice.
And then, of course, we always have stars on 4th of July with the fireworks show. And the mayor has, me and him talked the other day, and he said we're doubling the fireworks show. So it's really going to be a great time.
Awesome. I know Mayor Keating definitely looks forward to all that stuff going on. What's the largest? I know this is another question. What's the largest and the smallest fish you guys, just an ETA on what your thoughts are, your estimate? What's the largest and the smallest fish you guys end up catching every year in the rodeo?
It's always usually your big weights is going to be the shark. Of course, Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo holds numerous state titles in this event. Of course, the shark event that I remember most it goes way back. I think that shark was 800 and something pounds. That's before it was a tiger shark, but that was before they classified.
Yeah.
And they didn't break it down. It was just listed as shark. And then I'd probably say our smallest fish is probably going to be a croaker out of the kids category. It's always so funny. They bring it in and it'll fit in the palm of your hand, but
that's right.
They think they're as big as the 800-pound shark.
Nice. Yeah, I remember, Richie, and I told you the next year before COVID that I won my first ever award, at least for taking the picture of that big, huge tiger shark we were talking about 850 pounds. And it was a massive thing to see. And of course, that's something that everybody wants to see, bringing in fish like that. And y'all always have a good group over there weighing them in. And that's something right by the entrance. Am I correct? Right when you drive in, that's right where the drop off is?
Correct. You'll come in, you'll see the anchor, you'll make the circle. There's a little gate there. There's someone there that'll lift it up so you can drive your vehicle up. We also take fish by water. You can pull right up behind the weigh scales, and they'll help you unload it there. So we try to get those fish to the scale as soon as possible. Mickey McGath is our weighmaster again this year.
Oh, yeah.
He's also one of the head honchos with the CCA. So
yeah,
we got a great guy in there. He became a director last year. I can't thank him enough for the work he does.
Awesome. Well, when people come back to you, Richie, and they tell you about the event every year, maybe this is the past event they're talking about to you, but what do they talk about more in the past events? Like what stands out to them where they're like, this, Richie, this was great. You guys did this, that, or the other. What do they talk about the most?
We get a lot of talk now about the Landry Ford Memorial Kids Tournament. Can't thank the Ford family enough for sponsoring that and helping with that. I think that is one of the biggest compliments the rodeo gets. We had 250 kids fish the tournament last year. It was just an amazing time. And that right there, when you come in there and those kids are bringing it in, it's just amazing to sit back and watch. Can't thank those parents for bringing those kids in. And the four family actors, we used to be the kids' rodeo was always on Saturday. Then Pat Adams gets to go to 2 days. Then last year we had a meeting right after the rodeo, and he said, "Hey guys, really looking great. Can we do 3 days?" Landry's son, he fishes the tournament, and they want to be able to fish, with these dads, with these grandfathers, with these mothers, and they want to. They see their older siblings competing in the adult category, and now they're out there fishing 3 days out of that tournament with them. Hopefully, one day we take it to a 4-day, and that's the biggest compliment we get. We always hear just what a great job that we do on that kids tournament.
I know you guys have the pageant every year. Give me the specifics of that, like what the girls do for you guys, helping y'all out with that, and when they actually have to get judged.
Shirley's our coordinator for that, and I have to say she does a great job with it. She takes the girls, they go all over to different cities. They not only are representing the fishing rodeo, they represent the city they're in. They promote their cities that they're from. And I can't thank the cities enough. We get a lot of support out of the Hancock County area, the Bay St. Louis, Diamond Head. They all do luncheons for the girls. Gulfport does an aquarium thing. So their girls are all over the coast. And so when you see them, stop, say hey to them, talk to them about what they do. All of them are real talkative and friendly, and they just have a great time. They're taken all over the coast, and they meet with different mayors and get their, they get insight of how politics work. And, it's just a great experience for them. I know this year, right off the bat, they're going to be at the mayor's luncheon downtown at the downtown diner. And then I think the next day they're out at the water park, hanging out there for a while. And then they start branching into their cities. I know Bay St. Louis has got a full day for them. Hancock got a full day for them. They will make an appearance over at the Craft Fest in the Bay. So, just they're all over. You see them, stop, talk to them about their city, and talk to them about the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo.
Well, we thank you, my friend. You give the audience a way they can reach out and be in contact if they have any questions.
You can pull up the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo.com, and then it's a board list on there. If you go to directors, you want to talk to a specific director or me, myself. We all of our phone numbers are listed. Give us a call. We answer any questions that we can for you. And we can't thank you enough for your support. Without the people coming out to the fishing rodeo, there's no way we'd make it to 78 years.
Hey, we thank you very much, Richie. You've always been a good friend, and anything we can do, you let us know.
Yes, sir. We can't thank y'all enough and your audience enough. Remember us, we're there on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Free parking down on the west side with Coast Area Transit doing transportation back and forth for us. And don't forget to come out on 4th of July. We also have VIP tables available.
There you go. You guys take care.
Thank you, Hunter. Y'all take care.
Nine Toes Brewing Company is a Gulf Coast destination for craft beer, great food, and interactive entertainment. Enjoy a rotating selection of small batch brews, a menu of comfort food favorites, and state-of-the-art golf simulators featuring world-famous courses.
Looking for trusted legal guidance on the Mississippi Gulf Coast? Joseph Kelly, attorney at law, has been serving the coast since 1993, helping families protect what matters most. From estate planning to securing your legacy, Joseph Kelly provides experienced, personalized legal services designed around your unique needs.
Looking for insurance coverage you can count on? Call the Insurance Barn, a professional agency since 1959. The Insurance Barn writes all-in-one policies and offers coverage for homeowners, fire, flood, commercial property, auto, boats, motorcycles, plus wind and hail protection.
I would like to introduce one of my good friends and former teacher, Joe Jex, the head track and field coach at St. Stanislaus High School, Catholic High School. Additionally, Coach Jex is a award-winning sports reporter for the Gazebo Gazette and the Seacoast Echo. And finally, and above all, I know his favorite thing in secret, the Ole Miss beat reporter. Coach, what are the expectations of the Ole Miss football team, especially having two potential All-Americans this year, Trinidad and Kawan?
Hunter, it's great to see you. Thank you for having me on. The expectations of the Ole Miss football team this year, I kind of get the idea that many people are not expecting too much because you see Vegas put out their odds with a 8-win season, basically. You've got Athlon's, Lindy's, Phil Steele, all those out there are placing the Rebels not as elite as they were last year, despite the fact that they have retained some talent, like you said, with Trinidad and Kawan. But on the defensive side, too, you got Will Eccles on the defensive line. You got Suntarine Perkins as an edge rusher in the linebacker position. So you've got some playmakers on both sides of the ball. I think, from my perspective, the expectation of the Ole Miss Rebels is not to lose any ground that they've gained the last 5 seasons under Lane Kiffin. They want to hold court and they want to hold their position. And if there's a game out there that maybe no one's expecting them to win, could be the Texas game, could be LSU coming in to Oxford on September 19th, could be the Georgia game. If one of those games is one where they could steal it, they need to steal it so that they can remain in the talk. I think that's really the expectation. I don't think they're going to be an 8-win team this year. I think they're going to be more like a 10-win team.
Let's talk about August camp, and if you believe there are going to be any changes on the horizon as far as the lineup, depth chart, anything as such.
I think the players that we have retained and the ones that we have signed to replace the starters we lost, particularly the 2 starters on the offensive line, I think those expectations they're already set. That's why they brought him in. They signed him. They signed some decent depth behind him too. And Pete Golding is now showing that he is one of the better high school recruiters out there in the country right now. He's getting a lot of commitments from some 4 stars out there in the high school ranks for the upcoming signing season, and that could provide some legitimate depth for him. I don't think there's any change, any major change. Other than, there's always the possibility of an injury during fall camp, always a possibility. So, but I don't think there's any change.
That's a segue to my next question, Coach. Will Ole Miss ever get back to high school recruiting in Mississippi, or has the Kiffin era pretty much ruined that? You did answer a little bit, but how strong was that gap built up just because of Kiffin's era? Just a transfer portal locking and maybe picking up a 5-star here and there.
I think the high school recruiting is going to come back into the foray for Ole Miss and for other schools as well. You've got this talk with the NCAA and Congress wanting to put some sort of policy or management procedures around this whole NIL thing, and if that's the case. And the one-time transfer rule, that's also up for major discussion, the one-time transfer rule. If that comes to pass, if the one-time transfer rule comes to pass, that automatically brings high school recruiting back into the fold because you can only leave one time. Now you've got people that are leaving, every year and going to another school, and they've played for 4 schools in 4 years. If that one-time transfer rule comes into pass, the high school recruiting becomes a major addition again, because then you're back to what many of us remember with college athletics and college football in particular is depth development. And Pete Golding learned under the master about depth development with Nick Saban when he was defensive coordinator there under Saban for those 5 seasons.
When people, with the segue to high school recruiting, who are the dominant student athletes on the coast this year that you know
of? First and foremost, I've got to go with Paris Trevelyan. Paris Trevelyan is a fantastic athlete, and as much as many in my age group want to see a pro-style quarterback back there. We have seen the college game develop into the dual threat quarterback. Paris Trevillian's a dual threat quarterback.
Quarterback as Christian, just for the audience to know.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah,
No,
Paris Trevillian quarterback hit. Yeah, Paris Trevillian quarterback at Pass Christian. I think he is certainly one of the ones that I have my eyes on. As far as the eastern end of the coast is concerned, I personally don't get to see too much of the eastern end of the Gulf Coast. Sure. But I know that there are some linemen that are coming out of the Pascagoula area that are fantastic athletes. The names escape me because I just unfortunately don't get to cover them as much as other people do. But they have produced lineman after lineman over there in the Jackson County area. I would expect the new number one lineman in the Jackson County area to be hot on the trail, because the Gulf Coast has been able to put out some very particular defensive interior players over the last 20 years or so.
As far as from a line recruit, remind me, and I'll talk to a future guest, but isn't that Caden Moss, the big recruit from Jackson, didn't he commit to Ole Miss already? Or
I believe he did commit to Ole Miss, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Caden Moss is at Jackson Academy. I think that's right.
That's right. You're right.
And yes, he is a 4-star, a consensus 4-star. You know, some of those ratings, of course, now we have rating after rating after rating after rating. Yeah. He is a 5-star by some of those, but for the most part, when you tally all of it up, he is a consensus 4-star recruit. And yes, Moss is the big name in Mississippi right now. And Pete Golding has done pretty well with recruiting the trenches, both on the offensive line and the defensive line. And I'm not taking anything away from Kawan Lacey, because he is the number one running back in college football this year. It's his to lose when the season starts. But when you have those big 4 and 5 stars plowing the ground for you in front, you could put a 2 or a 3-star running back there, and they look like an All-American when those holes open up.
West of 49, your tended area, who is among the teams, who is going to come out, you think, towards a playoff scenario or further than a playoff, maybe picking up a game or two in the playoffs, maybe even challenging South State or making it up to the Starkville again?
First and foremost, I've got to go with Jeff Stockstill at Pass Christian. I think he can make make up a couple wins in the postseason this year with Pass Christian, certainly behind the arm and the feet of Paris Trevillian. Never count out Picayune. Picayune is a machine, and because Cody Stogner up there, he does what he does best of all. And John Feaster at PRC is going to be knocking on his door pretty soon. And Ty Keys, the running back up at Poplarville, behind that plowing line that Jay Beach has in Poplarville. The Pearl River County teams are as strong as any trio of teams anywhere in the state of Mississippi.
Coach, give the audience the easiest way to contact you.
Easiest way to contact me is via email, jjx2@aol.com. If you got any questions, concerns, or opinions, I'd love to hear them.
Absolutely. You can also call 228-224-6781, because I'm sure I'll answer quite a bunch for you. So,
no problem, Hunter.
You take care.
Hunter, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Join us July 2nd to 5th at Jones Park in Gulfport for the 78th Annual Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo, a Gulf Coast tradition filled with fishing, food, family fun, and live entertainment.
United States Marine Inc. knows what it means to show up strong. Your grit and teamwork inspire us every day. At USMI, we cherish our family, and our family includes community and you. USMI builds the baddest boats with pride and coastal toughness.
So our next guest, who doesn't really need any introduction from me, is my good friend and the award-winning SuperTalk news reporter, Caleb Sailors. Caleb covers all of the Mississippi colleges, along with all of the news for the state's largest media syndicate, SuperTalk Mississippi News on supertalk.fm. And he has the statewide football scoreboard show Friday night, as we talked to a bunch of people yesterday, Caleb, about that. And we got some opinions one way or the other about some of the calls. How are you, my friend?
Hunter, man, I'm living it up here in Jackson. How about yourself?
Doing well. Well, you know how it is down here. It's hot, but it's nice on the inside, at least.
That's right.
What's going on with the congressional bill to limit expansion, if you could explain?
Yeah, there's a lot happening. The Protect College Sports Act, a lot of efforts to kind of create some sort of parity, you could say, across the college athletic scene. Some of it is steered at, kind of preventing some of the big dogs like the Big Ten and the SEC from forming a super conference and pushing everybody out. Nothing's really materialized yet. I know it got out of the Senate conference, but it's still got to go to the floor. Then it's got to go to the House. And, there's a lot there politically. I covered the state legislature in Mississippi, and then I've seen Congress, how it works. And getting something through Congress is a lot easier said than done. So we'll see what materializes. But, it does seem that Senator Cruz and Cantrell's bill is looking at, kind of thwarting a potential move by the SEC and Big Ten to kind of take over college football.
Where does Ole Miss football stand on the NCAA probe right now? I know we had talked about that in the past, but I haven't really heard anything except a cricket coming across. So.
Well, and that's how it's going to be, too. I mean, they're not going to say anything, but I can tell you this, though, Hunter, and the same thing I told you last week. The same position is that if NCAA really does want to go after Ole Miss and Pete Golding and Ole Miss have plenty of ammunition for other coaches, one who might or might not be at LSU right now, and it would be kind of a fool's errand for the NCAA to try to put all of its eggs in the Ole Miss basket when Ole Miss can literally prove that other players have been tampered with from its own roster.
Is there any similarity between this probe and what eventually happened in 2018 under Hugh Freeze?
Not really, because that was more so about impermissible benefits for recruits, allowing a recruit to sleep on a couch, and then Rebel Rags, a local retailer, giving supplies to a recruit to entice him to come to Ole Miss, bagmen being involved and whatnot. That's a lot different than tampering, because the probe is about a college student who was at another university enrolled in classes who ends up unenrolling and transferring to Ole Miss within the window. So it's a different type of case, but the ramifications wouldn't even be the same, too, because the tampering rules, I mean, at worst, right now, the way the rules are drafted, Pete Golding could get a 2-game suspension or something along those lines, unless the NCAA wanted to arbitrarily levy a new punishment, but I just don't see it coming to fruition.
What's the fallback for Clemson's Dabo Swinney on this, if either he's successful or not, for this tampering pursuit, trying to cause sanction of another football team?
Yeah, and Dabo has kind of backtracked a lot of his initial anger and flair and has kind of been like, okay, whoa, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here. I'm not trying to get anybody to lose a job or anybody to get suspended by any means. I just want the NCAA to crack down on this. And allegedly, that has come from evidence of his staff doing the same thing, maybe even with the same player that was involved with transferring to Ole Miss, Luke Ferrelli, the linebacker. And so you've seen Dabo kind of take a step back and say, hey, whoa. I just want the NCAA to do something about tampering in general. I'm not trying to get Pete Golding fired. I'm not trying to get him suspended. I'm not trying to get him fined. I'm not going that route, because he knows that he would likely have blood on his hands too, because you can't really assemble a roster these days without tampering.
Any word on who Ole Miss or State will bring to the SEC Media Days in a few weeks in Tampa?
Yeah, on the Ole Miss front, I mean, this is not official, but I would be shocked if it weren't Trinidad Chambliss and Kejuan Lacey as two of them. And on the defensive side of the ball, I could see them getting Will Eccles. It's a Mississippian who's been on the D-line now, and it's projected to be a first-round pick. I could see him coming. He doesn't really like talking to the media too much, so I could see them getting Keaton Thomas, a linebacker who transferred from Baylor, really well-spoken and good with the media. But my three for Ole Miss would be Trinidad, Kejuan, and probably Will Eccles. On the Mississippi State front, they're going to have Kamario Taylor out there. I mean, they have to. He's QB1, and he's kind of gotten a lot of clout now at the Manning Passing Academy. A lot of rave and a lot of praise about him out there. And I could see Anthony Evans, the wide receiver, who elected to come back instead of transferring somewhere else or even going pro, and probably Isaac Smith. I mean, Isaac Smith's been an incredible ambassador
the last 2 years. Yeah,
and he's a good ambassador for the state of Mississippi, and he's a great ambassador for that school. So, I mean, what's the old adage, Hunter? If it ain't broke, no need to fix it.
That's right. That's right. Are you hearing anything on the other end from Blake Anderson and the Southern Miss folks? I mean, anything good, positive?
Hunter, it has been, other than what my friends at the SuperTalk Eagle Hour know, it has been radio silence on the Southern Miss front on my end, which could very well be a good thing. You know what they say, real ones work in silence. And so maybe we could see something good coming from the Southern Miss side. I don't even know who Southern Miss's starting quarterback is going to be at this point. And so
and you know me, I cover some of those games, and I haven't heard the slightest word. So
we'll know more about the Golden Eagles when we get closer to kickoff, I imagine. I know when Sunbelt Media Days comes around, I know you and some of the other good reporters down there will get us some clarity on where Southern Miss football is right now in the post-Charles Huff era.
As far as it goes with the media days and after that as such, what's your plan, at least for the start of the season? You're going up to Louisville, correct?
Yeah, I'll be in Nashville for the Ole Miss Louisville game.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
You're playing Louisville in Nashville.
Right. Music City kickoff, I'll be there. And I'll be covering the Ole Miss football season all season, every game throughout the week, throughout the season. I will be giving everybody in-depth coverage of everything Ole Miss football related as it comes up.
There we go, Caleb. Will you tell everybody in the audience how they can contact you, and so they can be very formidable for at least for any Rebel information?
That's right. I can be found at X, Caleb Sailors STM. You can find me at Facebook, Instagram, all the other social media is just under my name. And most importantly, supertalk.fm. They're the ones who pay my bills.
And you absolutely appreciate you being on with us, Caleb. You're definitely deserving of the award that you got yesterday, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Hunter. You're the man.
Now we're on with one of the outstanding award-winning sports writers in the business, my good friend Craig Stevenson, an AP reporter for AL.com that covers USA, in other words, South Alabama, Troy, and occasionally Alabama, that is also this last week was a guest on Paul Feinbaum's show on ESPN. How are you, Craig?
Doing good, man. What's happening?
I'm doing well. Craig, can you explain to me, because I know you're pretty good knowledgeable of these type of scenarios, can you explain to me, in effect, the upcoming congressional bill and how it may have limiting on Power 6 teams like Troy and South Alabama, if it's a good thing or if there's anything open for them, if they plan on expansion or anything like that?
It's hard to say. One, I'm not really sure it's going to pass, but yeah, if they were somehow able to limit the transfer situations, that would help for sure. And the 5 to play 5 eligibility seemed like it would help some. You would be incumbent though on getting guys who can contribute immediately. Because there won't be any more redshirting, so there won't be any redshirting, and it had already been a situation where there was not much incentive to redshirt guys, because all that meant if you redshirted them and you would just lose them a year, you'd get less out of them before they transferred elsewhere. So I don't know. I'm not confident that it's going to pass. If it did, it potentially could help the little guys, so to speak, but we'll see, I guess.
The NCAA set this rule of, like you said, about the 5-year eligibility deal. How much is this likely, or is there going to be lawsuits popping up everywhere?
Yeah, I think there will be, but we have seen in the last couple of years that one thing that the NCAA has been able to enforce is the eligibility rules. Not been able to enforce transfer legislation or any kind of cap on what athletes can make. But in terms of eligibility, we saw with the Charles Bediako thing, saw Joey Aguilar. and others. The quarterback at Virginia, whose name is Morris, Chandler Morris, they've been able to uphold those rules. And even the situation with the quarterback from Texas Tech, Brendan Sorsby, that was an eligibility situation. We're declaring you ineligible. And even though you go to court, the conference and the NCAA are going to work together to make sure you're ineligible. So eligibility seems like something they've been able to make stand. Will there be lawsuits? Probably. Are those going to succeed? It doesn't seem like there's much reason to believe they will.
With the playoff status expected to be updated soon,
Yeah.
should realignment happen for any conferences? Because they won't do it before this, obviously, has a chance to pass. So.
I mean, I would love to see geographic realignment, but that doesn't sound like that's in the cards. I mean, they've gone the other direction from that just because of the TV money. In terms of realignment, now, if they are going to have some sort of breakaway Super League type thing, what would bother me is that if the Big Ten and the SEC just automatically took all their guys and went, because there are some of those schools in those conferences being carried along by the big boys. That hey, Vanderbilt and Mississippi State basically are in the SEC because their presidents were buddies with the presidents at Georgia and Alabama 100 years ago. I mean, that's why they're in there, even though Vanderbilt's been pretty good lately, but you understand what I'm saying. So I don't know. I would be interested to see how all that's going to shake out. Realignment, it's all going to be driven by television money, I think.
Are there any expected fireworks before the Sun Belt Conference days in a few weeks? And if with a prominent new defensive coordinator, Todd Orlando, can USA have any potential bowl eligibility you feel likely this year?
Yeah, in terms of fireworks, they got the Louisiana Tech thing sorted out. So I guess that was the big mystery. Now it looks like you just kind of slot them in where Texas State was and, move and move right along. South Alabama, yeah, I'm really interested to see how they look on defense. That's the big question mark. They lost a ton of talent, but Todd Orlando is a legit defensive coordinator, so maybe he can get a lot out of those guys. I think they're going to be okay on offense. They're going to be able to move the ball. Running backs are good. Receivers are capable. Quarterbacks are good. Offensive lines, got a couple of decent contributors back. But defensively, I don't really know what to expect. But Todd Orlando, it's going to be able to get the most out of those guys. What that means, I'm not sure. They're going to be, like they have been the last couple of years, they're going to be kind of fringy toward bowl eligibility, I think. And, it's going to come down to the last couple of weeks of the season, I guess. The only thing that they have one thing they have going for them is that obviously a lot of the other teams lost pretty much everybody too.
Is Bishop quarterback number one? Absolutely, 100%.
Well, I thought that most of the spring, and then when I got to the spring game, I saw a lot more out of Jared Hollins than I did out of Bishop Davenport. I don't think it's decided yet. I really think they're going to continue that into the fall. It was interesting to me that nobody transferred. One of the third string quarterback quit football to get married, so I guess that the same thing. But the fact that Hollins and Davenport both came back makes it seem to me like there's going to be a real competition. And, Davenport's kind of limited as a passer, but can really run. Hollins is not a great runner, but has a great arm. So it kind of depends on what they want, I think. And, with Major Applewhite calling the plays now, we'll see how they utilize one or both.
Last question, and it's about Troy baseball, who had their best season. And I know I haven't talked to you since they were in the World Series. With the return of Janicki, does Skyler look like he's going anywhere now?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any jobs open, that are in the power conferences, unless we see a late offseason move like we saw with Tony Vitello leaving Tennessee to go to the San Francisco Giants. There's nowhere for him to go. I mean, there's nowhere for him to go to move up. And the fact that he's got Janicki and Jay Boroff and some of the other highly productive guys coming back next year, that's big. And so I think they're going to at least one more ride. And then this time next year, if one of those big jobs in the SEC or the ACC or Big 12 comes open, then he'll probably be in that conversation. But yeah, it just didn't seem, after South Carolina filled their job, and then the Coastal Carolina guy went there, and then Coastal Carolina hired the former Mississippi State coach who didn't have a job. There was no other opening created for Skylar Meade. So again, unless there's a late move like we saw last year with Vitello, I think he's staying at Troy.
I asked David Schultz this last week. I said, where did Troy get the money to be able to bring these guys back?
Troy doesn't have a ton of money, and in baseball, I don't know that how much it costs. I mean, at least I know the SEC spends money, but I think Janicki. I haven't talked to Jimmy Janicki, but I think he knew he was going to be a first round pick, whether he stayed at Troy or whether he left. So might as well stay where he's comfortable. Because a lot of the movement obviously is I'm going to go make money now because I'm probably not going to make it at the next level. But Janicki, man, unless he gets hurt or something this time next year, he'll be getting about a $5 or $6 million signing bonus. So I think he should stay put.
There you go. We'll let everyone know how they can contact my friend.
Yeah, AL.com/sports, AL.com/Troy, AL.com/USA, at Craig Stevenson on social media, CraigStephenson. Thanks for having me.
And you have the radio, right?
Yeah, WNSP 105.5 FM, all this week till Friday. No show Friday because of the holiday.
Good deal. Take care.
Thanks.
The greatest fairy tale never told is coming to Beau Rivage this summer. Everyone's favorite ogre hits the stage in the Broadway hit Shrek the Musical. Join Shrek, Donkey, and Princess Fiona on a high-energy, family-friendly adventure, June 11th through July 2nd. Tickets start at $25 with 4-packs starting at $60. VIP packages available. Get your tickets at beaurivage.com. A Rand Productions show produced through special arrangement with Music Theater International, MTI, plus tax and service charge. Schedule subject to change. Some restrictions may apply.
My next guest is someone that I talk with virtually every week, the WGSO 990 AM radio host for In the Red Zone and Breakfast with the Bayou Bengals, Mitch Gibbs. Mitch, Phil Steele, the czar of college football, has ranked LSU as number 4 in his national preseason rankings. Is this overrated? What about the development of offensive and defensive line under Kiffin?
I mean, they've got a lot of pieces to put in place. They got a new head coach. They're in a very tough conference. They've got a brutal schedule because we were just talking about on the show yesterday. The first 4 games, 3 of the 4 difficult, and then the 3 straight towards the end of the season with Alabama, Texas, and Tennessee. And some people feel like the schedule's more manageable because the tougher games are at home. But they got Ole Miss on the road. They got to start with Clemson, a revenge game. Tennessee's dangerous at Tennessee. I think that's overrated. I got them as a bubble. And I do a show, so I'm supposed to be a little bit more optimistic about them. And so I would say that I have them as a bubble team, and I think most of the people who cover LSU on a daily basis, I think would probably agree with me on that.
Give me your thoughts about the quarterback room with Sam Leavitt and Husan Longstreet, because obviously, I've talked with you in the past about Sam Leavitt and how I didn't personally see any productivity against Mississippi State, who did not have a very quality defense last year. And, the USC transfer, Longstreet.
Yeah, it seems like the LSU people think Sam Leavitt's going to be a star. And then those non-LSU people think that he has not looked that great. Plus, he's coming off an injury issue last year. He hasn't participated recently, but he's supposed to be going to be good to go, when LSU starts against Clemson. And they've got, I think, like 8 new wide receivers coming in. They have not run the ball well since Clyde Edwards-Helaire was there. So they've got a lot of things to put together, and they think Lane Kiffin is great at that kind of stuff. Lane Kiffin had one really good year, his successor did as good or better than he would have done. So I don't think he's proven anything yet. So I think that it just depends on who you're asking that question to. If you ask it to an LSU person, they're going to feel, Leavitt's going to be ready to go. They've got like so much speed at wide receiver. They're going to run the ball a lot better. Blake Baker is going to be fine as a defensive coordinator because he's going to have more pieces to work with. They spent a lot of money in the portal. And then then you ask somebody like me who tries to be really down the middle. And I think there's a lot of moving parts to put together. And I've always thought Lane Kiffin is good at that, but he's not good at winning big games. So that's why I feel like LSU's a bubble team, because he's going to have to show me that he can beat the majority of those. I think there's 6 tough games on that schedule, and he wins 4 out of 6. He probably gets in, but he's going to have to show me. If he goes 50% 3 for 3, I don't think LSU gets in the playoffs.
Analytics mostly feel Tulane will drop this year, but still pick up 7 to 8 wins despite Will Hall installing a West Coast scheme on offense. Talk to me about that. Give me your thoughts.
Tulane reminds me a lot of the Saints situation. I think they got talent. There's again, just like Kellen Moore, Hall's got a lot to prove as a head coach because it didn't go well at Southern Miss, but they both have. The Saints have the NFC South, and Tulane's got a very mediocre conference, and they keep losing teams that are like the best teams in the conference besides Tulane. So I think Tulane probably, just because of the quality of the opposition, wins 7 or 8 games, but I just don't think they're going to be where they were the last few years. And I think most Tulane people realize that, and I think Tulane really should have gone in a different direction with their head coaching. So, I mean, I could be wrong. We'll see how that works out. He did a good job as a coordinator, offensive coordinator, but there were other people available, and they wanted Blake Baker, and obviously Lane Kiffin convinced them to stay at LSU. So I think they're like the Saints. They have some good players on that team. They've had some good talent, but if we're really focusing on the quality of the competition, and I think that puts them in a winning record in another bowl appearance.
The Green Wave have been ranked in the top recruiting class in the AAC, similarly to Will Hall's last 2 years at Southern Miss, where he was the top conference recruiting at USM. What are your thoughts on this? Because he's recruiting well, how much does that mean on the field action?
Well, he's coming in at the right time because they've made a bigger investment in the program. I mean, they have the new bubble on Claiborne Avenue, a new practice facility, which they didn't have with the 2 previous coaches, with Willie Fritz and Summerall. So the resources are better at Tulane now. So they should be recruiting better, and then they're in a conference that they could be the best team in the conference. But those are the high points. He's just got to prove he can do it. I mean, I know there were issues at Southern Miss, the offense, but they did a good job. They were good offensively last year with him being the coordinator, but they got a new quarterback now. They don't have the same guy from last year. And so they're like in a position where they got to figure out who's going to be their starting quarterback. So I would think that, again, Tulane, if you do the list of pros and cons, you got, a coach that's going to have to prove a lot of stuff. I don't think that they're as talented as they have been in the past, but they've got better resources now, and the conference is probably not as good as it was the last couple of years.
Now, this is a little bit of a different approach here. Talk to me about the Pelicans. Not much. Their NBA draft was last week. Not much of the NBA draft, except we picked up a Jamorian Moore, I believe, in the number 58 second-round pick. I mean, does this look like a team headed in the right direction? Was this a solid pick? Kind of give me your thoughts on that.
I thought it was kind of a weird pick because I know you would want, and then they just signed an undrafted free agent who also is from New Orleans. The kid you're talking about who was drafted 58th, the third to last pick was from St. Aug. So you would think that you would want to keep this quiet. You don't want to focus on the draft because then it shows the trade you made, and that's why you didn't have a pick in the first round. And so I thought that was a little bit strange in that sense. And if you told me, and we haven't been at free agency yet, and that was a good big topic on my show yesterday. It's like the NFL to me always gets it right. As much as I'm not a Roger Goodell fan, they have the timing of our schedule perfectly right. They have free agency before the draft. So if you don't get what you want in free agency, you can fill those holes in the draft. And some people say, well, the reason the NBA doesn't worry as much about that is because these kids are more ready to play because the physical requirements of basketball are not the same as football. I mean, that's a good argument. I don't know if I agree with it completely, but so now you have free agency and you've already had a draft, and I guess they could still make a trade, but they're focusing on the wrong guy. Trey Murphy III is the wrong guy to trade. You're not going to get equal value unless you get Jaylen Brown, and supposedly that door is closed according to most reports today. The Celtics are not going to deal with the Pelicans with that. But if I was the Celtics and Jaylen Brown wants out, I don't know another better player than Trey Murphy and other assets to go with it. But Zion is the guy they should move, and they won't do it. I don't know what Jono Mars is. I mean, he's just not making good decisions, whether it's Jordan Poole with a 2-year contract where you're paying him $30-something million a year, and now he's in his second year and you can't get rid of him because nobody's going to give you a first-round pick for him. I don't even know if somebody give you – I would have taken a second-round pick to just move his salary. And they got rid of Looney, which was an easy move to make because it was a team option, so he didn't barely play it anyway. I think Jordan Hawkins will probably be gone because they've given up on him. I don't know if he got really a great chance at the end of his time with the Pelicans. But it seems to me they're not doing anything because they want 4 or 5 number ones. They want like the Desmond Bane deal that Memphis got when they traded him to Orlando. And I don't think anybody's going to get 4 number ones for Trey Murphy III, but he's not the right guy to trade anyway. So I'd rather them do nothing. If that's all they're willing to do is try to trade him, I'd rather them do nothing. I think they should have traded Zion, and I think they could have gotten a number 1 in this draft. I'm not sold on this draft either. Let's see how these guys play out, because I like the kid from Acuff from Arkansas, and he was like picked by Sacramento. He almost went to like a black hole, I think, because you never win, and Sacramento never wins, but I love that guy. I think he's going to be a great player, but I think he's going to be a one-man show in Sacramento. But I want to see how this draft, these guys actually, how they perform, because everybody's raving about this draft. I'm not sold on that either.
Let everyone know how they can contact you, my friend.
Yeah, so I'm only a month or so out from football season. August we start the Saints show at lunchtime, which I like, Fridays at 12 to 2 over at Premier Nissan in Metairie, Louisiana. And then we're going to be doing good news. There's an Irish pub opening in Covington in the beginning of August, and we're going to do the LSU football show on Saturday mornings from 9 to 11, all starting the first Friday and Saturday in August. So talking Saints on Friday, LSU Saturday, and then of course I'm on Facebook all the time, being very critical of the NBA. I blast again. I said, I think their schedule is ridiculous, because now a team, if you make your decision, if you do free agency first, you know what to do in the draft. And I don't understand that. So you read, I'm very critical about stuff because I think a lot of things need to change in sports. And so but you can follow me on Facebook with all that information.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
My final guest is my good friend, Pine Belt sports writer, Dale McKee. Dale hosts the Brouhaha on WABO 105.5 with Marshall Wood. Dale, give me your thoughts on college expansion and if this has any merit right now because of the potential congressional bill coming up.
Well, from what I've read, and just my opinion on it, it's not going to happen for a while. I think the Big Ten and the SEC are happy where they are right now, and if it is, it would be movement probably within the smaller conferences. I say smaller conferences. It could be a merger, say the Sun Belt, the Conference USA, or something like that, But I'm not even sure those want to do it at this time because it's such an unsettling time. I'm still worried about if a lot of these colleges are going to be able to fund all their sports or pick the sports that they're going to try to do well in. And so, there's like a program like, say, USM football. I mean, just USM sport, athletics in general. Are you going to be able to, have enough NIL money to recruit in every sport, or are you going to have to pick some sports? So I think that's probably I would say it's not no man's land, but it is probably not on the table in a lot of conferences for expansion.
How has the expansion, NIL, and the transfer portal all have created problems in local high school recruiting?
Well, I think, talking to some college coaches that recruit some, a lot of these high school players, they're getting just people in the community to kind of speak for them, and so I'm not sure. They should have some kind of, I don't know, legislation or something that you have to be, certified like an NFL agent if you're going to, negotiate with colleges about some of these contracts. I mean, that would be like a kid, coming over to me and saying, hey, would you help me? Such and such university wants to give me $1 million to come play for them. And I'm sitting there, well, I mean, I've never had that kind of money all at one time. I wouldn't know how to deal with it. And I think these student athletes in high school, I think they need to be, more informed. But I think going forward, if you really think about it, if you get money in college, maybe you can handle your money better than the pros. I was reading a story one time about a Seattle Seahawk, and he made like $4 million playing for the Seahawks. And then he got cut after about the 5th or 6th year, I don't know what it was. And I was reading a story about him that he was a manager trainee at one of the coffee shops in Seattle because he'd given all his money away to his family and things of that nature. And so he just didn't really have, when you get $4 million paycheck, you probably going to owe Uncle Sam and the state that you live in a lot of money. So I'm not, I just wish these high school kids could get some really good, agents or what you want to call them, as far as going forward with that. Does that answer your question? Or
no, that's absolutely. Well, how effective is junior college recruiting at the Power 4 level now?
Well, I just think junior college recruiting is going to definitely change in baseball because of the Major League Baseball thinking about doing after the sophomore year, the draft. So, college baseball is going to get better. And because, the Major League Baseball has come to their senses and saying, hey, you colleges can fund this for us. But I just know that, on the Mississippi, I think the top 10 kids in Mississippi, well, really the top 20, we've got probably in our state, we've probably got 10 kids. Now, you talking about Power 4, but we've got 10 kids that's already committed to like a couple to West Virginia, a couple to Illinois, one to Missouri. You're getting one to Florida State. And so the kid down at the Anderson kid down at Pearl River, he's a big edge worker. I think he's going to go down to them. And Cole Lynn's got probably the number one player in junior college football in Mississippi for sure, probably in the country. He's a Thomas kid. He's a defensive lineman. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. I got my notes mixed up. I'm sorry. His name is Jermaine Mitchell. He's a 6'8", 310-pound offensive tackle.
Wow.
He's playing at Cole Lynn. He's originally from Louisiana, and he's committed to Arizona State.
Wow.
So he's the number 1 or 2 junior college recruit in the country. And, of course, we got them all over Cole Lynn. I think Northwest has got three kids, and 2 of them are going to West Virginia. So, the Power 5 schools are still coming down here. So I'm sure there'll be enough left over for the Power 4 schools.
Outside of the 5-star recruits, does Ole Miss or State or even Southern have any discussions with your local high school coaches anymore?
I can't really tell you about that. I don't really know. That's a good question. I do know that I know the coaches still come around.
Sure. Sure.
I know Pete Golden came around a couple of years ago when he was an assistant in this area that I live in. And he was really talking to a guy that he wanted to walk on, So they do come around. I don't know how that works anymore, really. That would be a good question. I'm going to have to ask our local high school coach, hey, what's the deal with that? I don't know if they just look at these sites, like 247, and say, okay, this kid's rated number 1 in Mississippi. Let's go after him. I don't know how that works anymore. I know that, what disturbs me, I say disturbs me. I'm a Mississippi guy, okay? And out of the top 10 recruits in Mississippi, we're losing 5 of them, really good players. Like Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Miami, Florida State. I hate for those kids to leave the state. Of course, now we're going into other states and getting good players too, I assume.
Sure.
But I think Ole Miss has got 3 or 4 of the top 10 in our state committed, and State's got 1. I think State's got the kid from Rosa Fork or Tunica, and I think Ole Miss has got some kids from like Louisville and Ackerman and Tupelo and places like that. But we've lost some good kids like Sam Lagoon from Poplarville and Ty Keys from Poplarville. One's going to Florida State and one of them's going to Miami, so they will play each other one year. Sure. But it's a different world and it's changing every day. It's hard to keep up, Last year when I was writing some football previews, I had to call the SID at Ole Miss State and Southern. I said, is this kid still on your team?
That's
because
right.
He was there during the spring, but now this year it's changed a little bit. I didn't have to do a lot of that. But there was still some that escaped, so I was glad to call around and make sure. But it's different now. That's all I'm going to tell you. And I've been keeping up with the Manning camp this week just to see where all the top quarterbacks are leaning towards, high school quarterbacks. So that's always fun.
That's always good. Well, you take care, my friend, and you tell everybody how they can contact you.
Well, we're on radio station WABO, but we got a lot of our old shows archived on YouTube. It is called the Brouhaha, and I'm sure there's several Brouhahas up there. At least that's what I have found. So you just might want to punch in Dale McKee, and so that's about the best way to reach me. I am in several newspapers, and the Collins, the Quitman of Wayne County, Greene County. WTOK out of Meridian. I'm on their website, each week. So you can keep up with me like that. And I also do a quarterly magazine featured on sports for Today in Mississippi, which is a magazine that's put out by the Rural Electric Associations of Mississippi. That's like you can pick it up on Coastal Electric or River Valley or Singing River or Dixie Electric.
Well, that sounds good, my friend. You take care.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we gratefully appreciate you listening to this podcast. Jeff, we thank you again. We had a lot of good guests, a lot of good explanation of where we're going, at least in college athletics. And, minus Axl Rose and a little bit of Slash, I think we did pretty well.
Good, man. Some great information about the deep sea fishing rodeo. It's going to kick off this week in Gulfport. And, I always love having the experts pontificate about what LSU is going to do, what Ole Miss is going to do. It's one of my favorite things. So.
Well, and we had old Craig Stevenson on too, which was great.
Wealth of knowledge, like one of the smartest guys in the room always, He
and Joe and Caleb, they all quite ahead of you and me on all the rest of that stuff.
For sure.
But we want to thank all of our sponsors, including Beau Rivage and Casino in Biloxi. Nine Toes Brewery in Pass Christian, O'Dwyer Realty Agent Stephanie Mankiewicz, Joseph Kelly, Attorney at Law, Coast Casual at Pass Christian, the Insurance Barn in Gulfport, the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo at Jones Park in Gulfport. This weekend coming up is the July 4th weekend. You guys should all come out and provide the best opportunity for your family that you can. U.S. Marine Inc. is our final sponsor. Make sure you follow us on YouTube under Gazebo Gazette Productions or on the gazebogazette.com, where the podcast will be posted next week, as well as on facebook.com/The Real Gazebo Gazette, or on X at Gazebo Gazette as the handle. The HD Experience is available on all podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music under the HD Experience tag. Signing out, this is Hunter Dawkins with the award-winning HD Experience. We'll catch you on the flip side.